Good morning and welcome to The Point. It is Tuesday. It is Tuesday, May 11th, 2021. Why I feel like today is Monday? It's Tuesday, May 11th, 2021. Thank you for joining us on To The Point. Those of you on the GBN, Grenada Broadcasting Network's Facebook page, the Grenada Broadcasting Network's YouTube channel, the website www.gbn.gd, GBN TV, channel 7, 11, and 20. Good morning to the listeners of Classic 105.5, 105.9, and the folks joining us on Party Grenada and Go To FET Facebook pages. It's a pleasure to have you tuned in to The Point this morning. My virtual guest is a member of the National Democratic Congress NDC, Mr. Terence Forrester. Terry Forrester. Good morning, Mr. Forrester.
Good morning, Blossom. Terry or Terence, anyone will work fine.
Pleasure to have you, sir. It's been a little while that we've had a little discussion here on To The Point, so it's a pleasure to have you back.
Well, the pleasure is all mine, and a very good morning to all your listeners locally and abroad.
Appreciate it. So this morning, Mr. Forrester, let's deal with the economic side of things. Right now, Grenada, like the rest of the world, is going through tough economic times, mostly because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And I think it's time we as a country started discussions on the way forward, how we can bounce back, how we can get the economy going again. Do you have any thoughts on, first of all, the current economic climate, as well as how we can move the way forward for Grenada?
Well, thank you very much indeed, Blossom. Yes, indeed. We do have quite a challenging economy on our hands at this point in time. And our government, therefore, needs to be creative and to involve the people in the highest possible way in order to assist the nation, the country, in getting out of this economic morass which we're in. We really do need to produce our way out of debt. We have a very high debt stock on our hand, which continues to grow. And we really do need to produce our way to prosperity. We need good quality, long-term jobs in this country. We have to start adding value to what we have. We have to start exporting so as to earn revenue and thus, stabilize our job market and our economy. Our continued consumption of foreign products helps to keep foreign workers in jobs. We therefore need to build on the things which we already have. Be good at it. Target select markets with selected products. In other words, we need a new economy. We need a new roadmap to move forward, a new thinking, a true national development plan. And in essence, we need to renew our mind and to transform ourselves, because the battle is in our mind. And we can only be defeated based on what we believe. We need to manifest our greatness and be encouraged, because these are difficult and challenging times. We need to recognize that the world is now moving away from industrialization to AI, which is artificial intelligence. And we need to prepare our young people for the shift. Our Prime Minister has been minister responsible for science and technology since, I believe, the year 2000. It's now 21 years. We do not have a science and technology park, so we can attract our young people who are skilled, who are talented, so that they can expand themselves and flourish. We need to be aware as to what is happening in the world and get on board. And more importantly, we need to do more SWOT analysis in this country. Every single action can determine a SWOT analysis. What is a SWOT? It's to determine your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. It's a 4-quadrant. It's a business strategic planning tool. It's a matrix that analyzes internal and external cause and effects, positive and negative. So take, for example, the present disputes and protests by the teachers, our government should have carried out a SWOT analysis of the situation to say to them, should I pay up? Should I find the resources and pay up and save the country national embarrassment? And that SWOT analysis would give a clear indication to government as to the way forward. I am not certain whether if our government uses this matrix, this collaborative dynamic matrix, I don't know. But leadership is needed in our country today. A leadership that listens, gives good direction with vision and policy. So we need so much in this country at this point in time. We need to prepare, especially our young people, for the challenges ahead. Skills training is something that we should have ongoing now for years and years. We have to get away from having to import out of Trinidad or Miami or another country individuals to carry out simple tasks. We have to prepare and train our people for the limited job opportunities. They're already limited, and still we have to import. And when we import foreign labor, we are not insisting upon these foreign contractors. Your license is subject to you taking on 1 or 2 young persons as apprentices, so that in time to come, we can build capacity in this country. This is what is happening for over 25, 30 years. We have not built capacity in this country. And we continue to lose the limited capacity which we have because of poor decision-making processes. We have to change. We must change. There is a need for change. And I'm calling on the people of Grenada to insist on the things that are required and that are necessary for the upward momentum and development of our country. We can leave the politics out of it. Let's look at the economic survival, because this is what is necessary. We must insist upon a science and technology park. We must say to the government, this has been promised for over 20 years, and we now need for this to happen so that the young people can start getting themselves trained in producing stuff and preparing themselves for the future. So this national development plan has to be different. It must inculcate strategic planning, and we need to challenge our ambassadors abroad. I'm not saying some of them are not doing a good job, but they need to hit the road and hit the road hard, knock on doors, and say to large entities, corporations, businesses out there, this is what Grenada can offer, and we can produce and provide container loads of this particular product to you. So an NDC administration will be insistent upon ambassadors to leave the champagne and the wine glasses for a while. We need to see you producing and help produce our way out of this massive debt that we have on our hands. And as I said, I don't want to falsely accuse any of our ambassadors out there. I'm sure most of them are working hard. But we need to see the evidence of their hard work. And this is what is necessary. We need to engage our diaspora much more. We need to engage our retirees much more, locally and in the diaspora, simply because they are sitting on wealth of knowledge, and therefore we need to use that. So we need to carry out a database as to how many retirees we have, their knowledge, their skills base. We also need to do a database with people who are unemployed. What are their skill sets? What experiences do they have? What they would like to do, and how we can develop training opportunities for them. If we don't do this, in the next 10 years, we're going to be finding ourselves with serious, serious challenges. And we need to develop our agro industries. There is just so much we can do. A friend was saying to me only yesterday, a young man in Antigua, he was given 15, 16 acres by the government to plant onions. And within 1 year, he was able to gross over $2 million in the production of just onions. Sometimes I see truckloads of onions from the port, and I just shake my head. I say, we can produce this stuff here. We can produce potatoes. We can produce just so many other products which we import. And it really saddens me. And it came to light more in the 2018 election process when I see truckloads of cement blocks coming out of Trinidad. And I said, but what is really going on with our people and our government? If our block manufacturers have a shortcoming with respect to equipment, manufacturing equipment, know-how, etc., it is part of the responsibility of a caring government to call in block manufacturers and say, hey, we need for you to step up your game because contractors can get blocks out of Trinidad much cheaper. What assistance do you need? Is it equipment, technical know-how? What is it? How can another country produce cement blocks, pay import duties, pay shipping, and still undercut you? Something is wrong with that picture. We have all that is required here. We have the cement. Of course, you have to import that. But you have all the aggregates. You have the labor. It's a simple process. So that way you can create sustainable long-term jobs just in that one little sector. We're also importing bread out of Trinidad. Now, give me a break. Bread? You know, so these are the things that our government need to look at and really shake our people into realization that we can do it. We can do it. But we just need to manifest our greatness, be encouraged, and act on our dreams. That's basically what it is. It's not a magic formula. Absolutely not. But we need this new thinking. And basically, this is it. Just another item, Blossom. I see, for example, you have the debushing program, and grass is cut on the side of the road. What happens to it? It's dumped somewhere. Rather than we are creating a farm so that this grass can be fed to animals for our own protein use. Look, for example, a small island like Aruba and Curacao. They're almost desert land. They are producing dozens of products from aloes. Aloes does not need any kind of nourished soils to grow. We are growing aloes here. Matter of fact, I have a whole set in my yard. We can grow aloes here on the side of the road. Keep the grass down. Then you harvest it at the appropriate time, bring it to a factory, and start producing added value products. The people who have been given the debushing program, they can now move into assisting farmers in helping them to clear their lands, replant. We got to get serious about our agriculture sector so that we can start creating and developing long-term, good quality, sustainable jobs. So when the real shocks come about as a result of what is going to or what may happen out there in the international community, it's going to hit us hard still, but at least we'll have something to fall back on. So training, skills training, absolutely necessary. We should have started this decades ago. The fact of looking at what we import, imagine down to lettuce, cabbage, carrots, all these stuff are being imported. Something has to be wrong. So we got to change the dynamics and challenge our people, provide the assistance necessary, establish the appropriate financing. I know there are challenges with respect to repayments and all that, but there are measures that can be introduced so as to minimize the situation. And government has to take that responsibility. There are just too many persons unemployed in this country. The unemployment rate is probably closer to 50, 60%. This is dangerous. in a small island like Grenada, this is not healthy. So we got to change this situation and create this new roadmap so that we can move from where we are to where we want to be. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but we got to start. If you never start, you never get there.
So, Mr. Forrester, why do you think some of these things are not taking place? Why do you think that there are so many suggestions that you've made? Have you even reached out to the powers that be, maybe not you personally, but the party, to see that these things can actually be put in place and we can actually start to generate some more economic activities in Grenada?
Blossom, it's about the mindset of the leadership. If the leadership has a mindset that I'm not interested in agriculture, my father was a farmer, he died a poor man, which I don't believe, then nothing happens. And what occurs is that thinking transcends into the communities, and therefore everyone soaks it up. And what happens? Everybody lays back and wait on the government. The dependency syndrome has taken so much root in this nation that people have to almost relearn how to work. You cannot build a nation on handouts. It's a very temporary situation. And I'm not saying that some individuals may not require or need assistance from government, but too many strong, well-built individuals are just sitting home waiting on this handout. And we need to give them a hand up, give them a good quality job to go to. For example, if we have agro-processing plants throughout the country, these same folks who are receiving these handouts, they would feel much more gratified to know that they're getting up in the morning to go to a job where they can earn a living and feel confident that they have produced. It is not a good psychological feel for anyone to sit and just expect things coming in. It may feel good for a few weeks, a few months, but eventually it takes a toll on your psyche. You must feel that you are producing and doing something for your family, for your country, for your neighborhood. And we got to shift. We must make that shift. Take, for example, St. Andrews. After Pearls Airport was shut down in 1985, which is about probably 36 years ago, absolutely nothing was done to resuscitate any form of economic activity for the rural economy. We have a depressed rural economy. The folks out there are just totally depressed. And we had to be thankful to God that He has kept these people together from, going down a road that we all would not like. But we have to do something, and I've expressed before that the loan which exists now for the Point Saline Airport, its upgrade, etc. I'm not saying that a part of it is not necessary. Surely the resurfacing of the runway is key because it has to meet international requirements and standards. The rest of the project, as far as I'm concerned, is not necessary at this point in time. A large portion of this money should go to resuscitating the Pearls Airport so that we can start generating fresh fruit, flowers, vegetables, etc., for export onto Point Saline and eventually onto the international markets. And this is where I will challenge our ambassadors to say, get off your comfortable chairs, go out there, knock on doors, and find markets for our products. And I'll make absolutely no joke with them on this, quite honestly. I'll say it to them very boldly. If you don't perform, giving you 6 months, if you can't find markets for the farmers, for the products, then you're not doing a good job.
How will the NDC,
very simple.
How can the NDC make these things happen? Because it's easy, being on the outside looking in and seeing what can be done, but it's different kettle of fish when you actually get into the position. How can the NDC, even from the outside, not even if you form the next government? From the current position that the NDC is in now, how can you assist with making these things happen, with boosting the economy? The importation of bread still plays on my mind, ensuring our ambassadors, step up like you want them to. What role can the NDC play now, today, May 11th, 2021?
Well, this is just the beginning of the assistance the NDC can provide by this very forum. I hope and trust that government representatives are listening in, because we need to have this paradigm shift. We need a shift. We need a new economy. We need a new roadmap. Otherwise, we are going to bung away, and in a very, very serious and difficult way. We cannot continue to have young people between 20 and 30 unemployed, doing nothing. It's dangerous. This is the most productive years of their lives. And unfortunately, the Imani program, while I have no problems with it in its, let's say, framework, but it needs to enable and strengthen these young persons in futuristic permanent job opportunities. Training, again, is fundamental. Skills training must be a part of the Imani program. You have to train our people so that we do not have to continue importing labor from outside just to fix a simple motor in a boat at GYS. You have to bring somebody from Trinidad to rewind it, etc. And I'm talking about simple matters. We have to train our people, for example, to fix dialysis machines. There's no need that we should have to bring someone in from outside in order to service them. For example, we don't need to be constantly having to replace our CEO at the Ministry of Tourism by a non-Grenadian. I'm not opposed to Caribbean nationals or anyone obtaining job opportunities in Grenada, because lots of our people are engaged outside. But you can't tell me for over 20 years you cannot find a suitably qualified Grenadian to hold such a top post. It means that your futuristic planning is nowhere there. In other words, you're not interested in the forward momentum and development of your people. That's the simple answer to that question, because there is absolutely no understanding. And even with the last folks who applied, have they been offered scholarships to say, well, you didn't cut it because you were under par? And this is the reason. Have we given them scholarships to go abroad, to now sharpen their skills and come back in the next few years in order to take up such a position? In other words, we have to start protecting our jobs as much as we can locally. And part of doing that is with training. But more importantly, we cannot continue to be abusing the health and strength of our young population through the Imani program. Some of them have been sitting there for 8-10 years. They don't have a job contract. They don't have permanent employment. They cannot go to courts or any institution and say, I want a loan or I want to buy this. Here is my, let's say, job letter, because they are on some kind of contract. And I think I heard recently that the Prime Minister announced that Imani students after 2 years will now get a contract. Now, what kind of contract are you talking about? They are different contracts. So are they able to now take this to some entity, their private attorney or someone else, to say, review this for me before I sign, etc.? We cannot continue to use our young people in such a manner that is not going to propel them into the future, into economic stability. As the years roll on, they have to start showing things. They want to buy a piece of land, they want to buy a car, they want to build a little home, etc. So we got to be mindful of these things as we move forward. Hence the reason why I say we need a serious shift, a new roadmap as to how we move forward so that we can bring and take everyone along with us to prosperity. That's the reality.
Let's take a break, Mr. Forrester, and then we're going to come back and field questions from our viewers and listeners. This is To The Point on Classic and GBN. We'll be right back.
Do you hear what I hear? Listen to the ocean, and you will hear a cry for help. The ocean is hurting, and we are the source of the hurt. But we can stop and start to heal our ocean by preventing pollution from getting into our waterways. It can start with you. Join an active organization, or better yet, make a personal commitment. Commit not for just one day in the year, but for the rest of your life. Let's dispose of our plastic and other waste responsibly, and let's start building resilience. Let the healing begin.
This message is brought to you by the OECS Commission with funding from the Government of Norway. REMLIT, tackling ocean pollution from tooth to tooth.
We believe this new virus spreads mostly from person to person through respiratory droplets produced when someone who is sick coughs or sneezes. This is similar to how flu and other respiratory illnesses spread. These droplets can land in the mouth or nose of people nearby, or possibly be inhaled into the lungs. Most person-to-person spread happens when people are in close contact. It's also possible that this virus can spread when someone touches a contaminated surface and then touches the mouth, nose, or eyes.
There's no better way to start your day than with me on Good Morning Grenada.
Covering everything you need to start your mornings off right. 6:35 a.m. on weekdays on all GBN platforms. Good Morning Grenada, adding a little blossom to your mornings.
The following are a list of food items to have on hand amidst COVID-19. Perishables like vegetables, fruits, provisions, and eggs. You are advised to stock perishable items to last up to 2 weeks. Non-perishable items including dry goods like cereals, flour, cornmeal, oats, rice, pasta, nuts and nut butters like peanut butter, crackers, canned or frozen meats, ready-to-eat canned meats, powdered or canned milk, dried peas and beans, canned fruits.
Welcome back to The Point. We're speaking with member of the NDC, Mr. Terry Forrester. Let me see. Let me ask this question before we go to the phone lines. Mr. Forrester, over the weekend, you conducted an interview with former political leader of the NDC, Nazim Burke, and one of the standout points that came out of that interview was his comment in which said he was seeking spiritual guidance on if he should return to politics. And that spurred the question, is it that he was asked to return by the NDC? Do you have that kind of information?
Not that I am aware of, but I do agree with him that making such a decision is indeed a very huge one, and he needs to consult with his maker. We all have to when we are entering into, such massive undertakings. In life, Blossom, some people walk and some run. And there are some people who will flourish and blossom quickly, while others may take a little bit longer. But it's all in God's plan. I'll share something with you from the Bible. Jacob saw in Joseph a fine son, and his other brothers, 10 of them, saw in Joseph a useless brother. And you would know the story of the travelers. They saw in Joseph someone that they could sell into slavery. And even when Joseph got into Egypt, the prison guard saw Joseph as another prisoner for the king. But the king saw in Joseph a very fine servant. You know what? Every one of them was wrong, because God saw in Joseph a potential prime minister of Egypt. So be encouraged as to what God sees in you and not what people see in you. You know, it does not matter what your age is. That's why God chose Abraham. And it does not matter your expertise. That's why God chose David. It doesn't matter about your past. He chose Paul. It doesn't matter about your gender. This is why God chose Esther. And it does not matter about your appearance. That's why he chose Zacchaeus, the shortest one of them all. It does not matter about your career. That's why God chose Mary Magdalene. It does not matter about your fluency of speech. That's why he chose Moses. So God has his plan for each and every one of us. And we should all follow our passion and ask God for the appropriate guidance always. Live your dream and consult your Maker, and he shall guide you appropriately. And I want to give this message in particular to every young person in this country who has a dream, to pursue those dreams and pray for guidance, because the best of you is yet to come. Grenada needs you. At this point in time, Grenada needs you, young people.
Let's go to the phone lines. The landline number 435-2041. That's also the WhatsApp number. Please, only written messages on WhatsApp. And you can continue to post your comments, questions, queries, concerns on Facebook and YouTube. Good morning, caller.
Good morning. Good morning.
Morning. Go right ahead.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, sir.
I wanted to say seem to be very eloquent, but I'll take out the word seem. You are very, very eloquent, and you have good ideas. I'm asking you, before I ask you another question, do you ever put forth those ideas in the different, and underline the word, the different organization, political organization in which you were? And why is it that possible, these people in the different organizations do not take your ideas and put them and use them? Now, I want to ask you a particular question in connection. How would you deal if somebody asks you, what's the status of the vaccination, which means to say the number of people vaccinated and who were vaccinated? In other words, would you try to tell them, educate them positively or negatively? Maybe I explain. Let me see if I could explain that. Would you tell them that not many frontline workers are taking the vaccination? Do you think that this is negative education? I hope you understand what I'm talking about. Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller.
Thank you very much, caller, for your questions. And for the first part, I'd say yes. I grew up in an agricultural family. The Forresters are well known in Birch Grove, Paraclete, and in the St. Andrews area for agriculture, development. And this has always been in me. And therefore, my answer to that question would be yes, I've always shared that passion for agriculture, because I believe this is the foundation of this country's growth and development. We can do the other things, tourism and all the other aspects of development, but we must never forget from whence we came from and ensure that it's well fortified, and it will always be a backbone to the entire nation. That's where our strength comes from. On the other matter, I believe that so far the government has done a reasonably good job with respect to COVID. And I think at this point, with respect to vaccination, the political directorate needs to step back a bit and allow the medical professionals to step forward. We need much more education, because there's just so much controversy out there that people can put their hands on from the internet, social media, etc. It is creating significant confusion in the minds of the population. And I can't blame individuals from being a little bit conservative or worrisome with respect to this matter. But education is necessary if we are to move forward in this vein. And the government has a serious challenge on its hand, but if they would only be creative and put this matter in the form of campaigning, it may be easier. It's during a campaign, you go house to house and you sell your story. You convince and influence people. Why aren't you doing the same thing today? Why aren't you involving other political parties and say, look, this is a national matter. I am providing you with X financing so that you can go out there and assist in spreading the information of truth with respect to that particular matter. And you must give people choices at the end of the day. Our people need choices. Because again, you hear all sorts of conflicting stories, and you can't blame citizens for being worrisome in this atmosphere.
A question on WhatsApp. What's your stance on taxpayers' money funding political offices, be it government in power? We see $10,000 per month goes to each constituency for political work. It used to be $1,500, and in addition, housing officers, personal assistants, seed workers, all paid by the state but operated from political offices. How will this be handled?
It is most unfortunate that this is occurring, and we see more and more of taxpayers' dollars being used for political agendas. And this is not right. This is not proper. A political party must generate its own finances to run its show. And the tax dollars is for the development of the nation, creating jobs, opportunities, ensuring that our hospitals have adequate supplies, that our schools are looked after, etc. That is the reason for it. Now, when you compare Grenada to the other Caribbean islands, we probably have one of the largest social programs, maybe throughout the entire region. Any country that spends that large sums of money on social programs is heading down a road of disaster. I am not saying that we don't need to spend for social programs. There are some people in need, but we need to start lifting people up rather than keeping them down. And this has been an unfortunate policy for too long. And the longer you continue with it, it means that you are sacrificing the labor force of this country. Because some people may probably forget how to work. And this is not good for production. So this is why I say we need a new mindset, and we need a new roadmap, and we need a shift so that we can bring everybody up with us and create the opportunities. This is why I was talking about Pearls Airport. We need to resuscitate that airport, bring back economic activities to St. Andrews, to St. Patrick, parts of St. David's, start putting money in the pockets of Grenadians so that this economy can start picking up and get people back to work. We need to establish small factories, entities, so that we can get going. People ought to be working 24/7 in this country. Morning shift, afternoon, evening, night shift, adding value to what we have. We have too much in this country going to waste by way of good quality fruit, vegetables, etc. Take, for example, we have now won, 14 or 15 gold awards in England at the flower show. You tell me how much flowers are we exporting to the UK and to other countries? Absolutely almost nil, but we have won gold. How do you explain this scenario? A small country like Grenada winning gold year after year, year after year, and we can't even export a container load of flowers to the UK? Something is wrong with this picture. Drastically wrong with this picture. It means that the leadership, something is fundamentally wrong with the leadership. Because a nation cannot win gold and say to me, you can't export a container load. somebody's not doing the work. Maybe the High Commissioner in London is sitting on his or her laurels. And this is the challenge the NDC administration will place upon any and all of our representatives out there. You got to produce or come back home. Very simple.
All right, back to the landline. Good morning, caller.
Yes, good morning, Citizen Welsh. Greetings and good morning to sisters. I wonder if I should say Citizen Forrester. Listen, Mr. Forrester.
Good morning. Good morning.
You know I don't flatter people. You speak the truth. You say things as they are. You've made references to many, many paradoxes. One of the most significant ones you made a while ago was that related to the increase of the social network. Huh?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Safety network. Yet we say that our economy is vibrant and growing and whatnot and whatnot. Isn't that strange? Ain't that strange, as you just said, that we winning gold and otherwise spontaneously in flower shows, but we can't produce sufficient flowers for export? All these things are happening, my dear friend. And we're seeing all these things happening, but the government of the day abuses the so-called constitution, abuses the so-called laws from it, abuse the people, deprive the people of their fundamental rights, even rights established by United Nations Convention, and otherwise, and the list goes on. Now, you say, you speak of a lot of things that we can do in this country, and I'm fully supportive of you. But, Mr. Forrester, I'm asking this question again. Why is it you people don't identify that nowhere in this here country will anything change? You speak of a new paradigm, a new direction, a new shift, that you cannot do it except this country is refounded. That until this country gets a constitution made by the people themselves in full synergy, in agreement, not 100%, but of course there shall be differences, etc. But a constitution that is made into law, legitimate, valid, with legal validity, where no one can violate it, where each citizen, according to rights established by a national citizens' council, would give the people of this country the right to recall any government.
Okay.
We need to refound this nation. Say whether you want that or not.
All right.
Thank you very much and have a nice day. Will you?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Brother Rollo, indeed. And thank you for your commendation. And yes, indeed, that's part of the paradigm shift. That's part of the new agenda. That's part of the new roadmap. Because I agree with you, we would need to engage all the partners required in order to make this paradigm shift, obtain the necessary consultative representation, be it locally, regionally, or even internationally, and move in the direction whereby we can now have a country where we can depend and feel confident that the laws can protect each and every one of us, and to avoid abuse of our laws and constitution. So in part, I agree with you, but consultation is absolutely necessary as we move forward, and involving all partners involved. All partners must be involved.
WhatsApp. Somebody on WhatsApp says, Mr. Forrester, you seem to have all the answers to what is needed to turn this country around. What is the NDC waiting on? Elections is around the corner. Are you waiting till the date is called to come out?
Thank you for that question on WhatsApp. What a lot or many persons don't realize that the National Democratic Congress has been working very hard over the last few years. It may not be flamboyant at expressing all the things that they're doing, but the building of a strong, house requires a strong foundation. And this is what the NDC has been doing over the last few years, ensuring that its policy directive, its policy directions are in keeping with the expectations of the general public. So don't count the NDC out. I was even pleasantly surprised myself when I joined them in November 2019 of the level of work consultation that they have been doing. So what you need to do as a citizen of this country to ensure that you get re-registered, remember, if you voted the last time around, your card expired in 2020. You need to re-register. And all young persons who are now 18 years and over, get yourself registered. It is a very simple process. Some individuals think it is about sitting an exam. You just go there, you sit, your picture is taken, you put your finger in a little machine to get a fingerprint, and you sign. There is nothing intimidating about it. So I encourage all young persons, because what is happening now and what is likely to happen in the future will affect young people more than anyone else, because it really saddens me to see the lack of opportunities for young people who have strengths and are able at this time to build themselves. 10, 15 years from now, the strength that they have today, they wouldn't have it then. So you got to take the opportunity now to start earning so that you can prepare for your older years to come. And the NDC is committed to this exercise.
Many people, Mr. Forrester, are saying the NDC are not that visible. They may be having little events, breakfasts. I know the party has been doing breakfasts, but they're not really coming out and saying what they would do if they form the next government. Elections, yes, are constitutionally due in 2023, but it can be called 2022.
Yes, indeed. But the NDC has been doing a lot. The NDC, I realize, is an organization that does not like to blow its horn too much. But when you go on the ground, you realize that the horn is sounded very loudly. And this is where it really matters, on the ground, not necessarily on the media and social media, radio, etc. The battle is won on the ground, one by one. And the NDC continues to do its work in a very strategic manner. And while I agree there's much more that can be done, but I'm satisfied so far that we have progressed to the extent whereby whenever an election is called, I think the NDC is ready.
A comment on Facebook, the NDC has not addressed the issue within the electoral office. If you fail to do so, you can stop dreaming about getting into office.
I agree that this is a matter that it's on the front burner with respect to the committee that is responsible for looking after such irregularities. And we are calling on the international community, CARICOM, Organization of American States, and all other entities to assist in this exercise. The notion of having these agencies come just to observe an election, in my opinion, does not make much sense. We want them on the ground now to investigate, to look into this electoral office for all the allegations of wrongdoings, etc. They must come now. The Commonwealth Secretariat must have representation. CARICOM must have representation. The OS must have representation. And we intend to ask these organizations, if not already, to assist us in building that team that will look into the workings of the electoral office, which is under the auspices of Her Excellency the Governor General, not the Prime Minister's office. This is an independent office, or at least it ought to be, just like the Commissioner of Police office. But you know the allegations that you hear from time to time. But we will be making strong representation for such assistance. Probably it's on its way already.
WhatsApp. Is Mr. Forrester agreeing on behalf of the NDC to attempt another constitution reform?
Constitution reform, I don't know. This may be a matter down the road. This is not an immediate call, which I'm not aware of any such constitution reform immediately. But I do believe that in the future, if we are to construct this nation, as Brother Rollo has been saying over and over, in a manner that is fitting to the people of this country, and to hold public officials responsible legally, then we need some amendments, because there's just too much power that resides in the Prime Minister of this country. Too much power. And I don't care who is holding the office. Too much power corrupts, and too much power corrupts absolutely. That amendment is necessary. Even if this Prime Minister goes back into office, it's necessary to be done. If the NDC forms the next administration, that Prime Minister, I am still supporting that it needs to be amended. It is dangerous to have all this amount of power residing in the hands of one individual. Democracy must reign, equality must reign, and more importantly, the people must reign over the political directorates, not the other way around.
Back to WhatsApp. The phone isn't ringing. So back to WhatsApp. One of the vexing issues is the matter of pension and gratuity for public officers. Are you and the party prepared to give a truthful, honest, and irreversible commitment to solve this matter fairly in workers' interest, understanding that politicians and parliamentarians benefit from the votes of workers?
I honestly believe the Pension Disqualification Act of 1983 was a great disservice to the people of Grenada. This is a time when all stakeholders need to sit down and discuss the way forward. This is not an easy way out. This will involve millions and millions of dollars, but the discussion must commence. It must start. Too many of our people whom have worked hard to build this country are at home or are heading home without anything save and except a small NIS contribution. We have to address it somewhere or the other. No matter how difficult it may appear, it must be addressed. If you don't know, Blossom, what you are responsible for, be it financially or otherwise, you will forever throw it under the carpet. And too many governments over the years, and of course this administration and this Prime Minister having been there for just over 21 years, has a great responsibility where that is concerned. There must be consultation with the partners in finding a solution, a resolution to this matter. And quite honestly, it requires tremendous innovation and creative planning. Not everything has to be dollars and cents. You can provide value, government bonds. You can provide concessions at the port for who wants to import machinery, equipment, vehicle, what have you. You can probably obtain a piece of government land. And so we have to get creative in solving some of our economic problems. It doesn't always have to be dollars and cents. And while on this note, the 4% that is due to teachers and public servants, I would really like to see a percentage of this, whatever and whenever government decides to make the payment, that government must sit with the partners and say, look, we are making this payment, but we'd like to recommend that 1% of what we are giving go into a special fund, not necessarily controlled by government, but a fund where now these recipients can earn interest over a period of time. Too many times, sums of monies are paid out, and what happens? People just spend and spend. We must call upon our people to be mindful of the fact that saving is critical, and that if they invest in something that is productive and progressive, that it can live on for a very long time. Maybe investment into a local company. be it Huggins, Hubbard's, Coach, whichever one is there. At least they can, at the end of every quarter, as the case may be, receive some form of interest dividends, which will live on maybe until they die, which can be then passed on to their children.
Okay.
So these are some of the creative thinking that I believe is necessary as we move forward as a nation. But consultation, sitting down, humbling yourself as a leader, and listening. These are the critical components of moving forward.
Thank you very much, Mr. Forrester, for being our guest on To The Point this morning. Always appreciate it. Thank you so much for stopping by. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday.
Thank you very much indeed, Blossom, and continue to blossom as you grow younger. Thank you, listeners, and everyone.
Enjoy, Mr. Forrester.
Remember, some flowers blossom early, some blossom late.
Hopefully, I'll be blossoming right through.
Right through. Amen.
All right, have a good one.
Thank you.
Member of the National Democratic Congress, Mr. Terrence Forrester. Thank him so much for stopping by To The Point this morning, virtually that is. And thank you, viewers and listeners, for tuning in. Always appreciate your listenership and your viewership. Coming up at the top of the hour, GBN and Classic, we will be broadcasting this morning's post-cabinet briefing, which is expected to be facilitated by the Ministry of Health, as well as head of the RGPF's Community Relations Department, Superintendent Vanny Cohen. Post-cab briefing is scheduled to start at 10 a.m. and once the proceedings get underway, we will broadcast them on Classic and GBN. So stay tuned for this morning's post-cab briefing. Ministry of Health, they did not say which official of the ministry, but the ministry, as well as Superintendent Vanny Cohen of the RGPF's Community Relations Department. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. I'll be back tomorrow morning, God willing. Have yourselves a blessed day.